zero sleep basically, but Danilo is here from the Miracle, and I'm so freaking excited about this conversation. I will already say off the bat, man, I could just tell you immediately give me like 3 sentences. I could tell you're just a humble, kind human being. And when I can tell that up front about a person without saying much, because I've talked about thousands of people at this point, right? That gets me really excited. That gets me most excited to have a podcast. So welcome to the show. Thank you for being here, man. How you doing?
Thank you, Mikey. Thank you for having me. As you, Loie, running on caffeine and yeah, I'm just excited to be here. I'm excited to chat with you and to see where this convo is going.
It's going to be beautiful. Trust me,
Yeah.
I've done this hundreds of times, and I know exactly how it's going to go, and it's going to be so much fun. Before we get there, always do a quick update about myself. What is going on? I always like, I'm starting to say this, which is wild, right? Like building multiple, helping a company come to life around safety, AI, and governance. This guy, Adam, who has been on my podcast a year and a half ago, we just like disconnected for a year, and he came out of the blue and he was like, Mike, yeah, I need you. And he's in Australia. And safety and governance, like I thought, was going to become a problem. You talk to ChatGPT, it goes into a black box. You have no clue what it's doing, what it's saying, what it's thinking. He has a novel solution that kind of cryptographically documents everything the AI is saying, decisions it's taking. So if the AI hallucinates or starts to be nefarious and trying to do bad things, that's documented. It can't change it and try to lie to you. You have proof of the lie in the documentation. And it's also to the point where if it goes too much off the rails, it'll just shut the system down. There's not many people that have solved that in an interesting way like he did. So that gets me really excited. Two, another podcast. So we started another podcast every Friday afternoon. Our tentative name is just called The Flow State, which is, and the subtext to this is like, how do we evolve AI to be conscious and have a flow state, but we're doing it in a safe, responsible way. We're not just trying to achieve AGI like these other frontier models and just saying, hey, when we achieve it, we'll figure it out. No, this is like get AI to the flow state, but do it in a safeguarded way. In addition, we have many different experts coming up. I've got a guy that has created just a straight up brand comedy marketing company. I have digital marketing AI agencies come on. I have some high-end VC event coordinator people coming on. So I have got a plethora of things. I've switched a majority of my brand to LinkedIn. Best thing I've ever done. I knew I needed to do it. I still love Web3 and all you degens. It is close and near and dear to my heart. I've built the Mike G Beautiful brand on the Frog Plague there. But I also need to talk to people that are serious like Danilo and actually building companies and not telling you to buy into a token that means absolutely nothing to your life. So that is enough about me. The rest is about my man, Danilo. And we're going to start off with just the quick little intro that I always like to do. And that starts with this man went through the crisis, the big old banking crisis. And it was 15, 16 years, right? What were the two banks that you were at again?
Credit Suisse and UBS.
Yes. So you
So
go ahead.
yeah, that was in 2008. So
That was in
almost
2008.
almost 20 years ago. Yeah, 18 years. Yeah.
Yes. And then so in addition to that, though, you found crypto early on. And this is the other thing that, most people that come on here, 2021's like the time. Like I found crypto in 2021, right? You were finding it, God, what was that, in 2016, 2017, right? It was a little bit before the ICO craze. I have had people that have, were like OG 2010
Mm,
type people. And, the typical Bitcoin story, I had
mhm.
100 Bitcoin, didn't know what I was doing with it. But for some odd reason, you saw the impact of it immediately and you were sharing with everybody under the sun that you could. And you got really, really, really into it. And then obviously, you co founded The Miracle. You are the CEO. But most importantly, the fun fact, there's a reason why this man looks healthy and is beautiful because he's been playing soccer since the age of 5, you know? You're a good-looking dude, I can tell you're
I
healthy,
appreciate your
and it's
words.
because you've been running around on that pitch for a long
Mm,
time, man. That's a little bit about Danilo. We're obviously gonna get deeper. How'd I do, man?
yeah.
You wanna add anything?
No, I mean, thanks a lot for the kind words and for the introduction.
Of course.
And as you briefly touched on, it's kind of crazy to think of the year 2008 when we had that big financial crisis and
Oh,
basically also the birth of Bitcoin.
mhm.
And I had back then no, like for many, many years, I had no idea what Bitcoin is, and maybe I heard about it, maybe I didn't. But it's just interesting how life gets you like into the ups and downs, and you see an industry uh, falling behind and
Yes.
shaken up,
And
and yeah.
that was a perfect segue into
Mm,
life's ups and downs. And that's exactly what we're doing here before. Like I said, before we came on, we are going to help people understand from your perspective life and the ups and downs and how did you get through it because everyone has such a unique footprint in this world and we're
mm.
going to go through it in a nice beautiful way. And how we get there is very simple. The world famous Mikey G podcast experience question, my man. How did you get to the seat you are sitting in today? Chapter 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to reiterate for the audience who already got tons of people watching. It's fantastic. Chapter 1, if you are here and you've never heard this format, chapter 1 is your childhood. Prompting questions here. Parental figures, parents, what were their mantras? Be kind, pay it forward, work hard, whatever that may be. A vivid memory. Did you play sports? Were you a tinkerer? Were you a creative? Give me a couple sentences and off and go we run. Chapter 2 is your schooling and professional career with a crisis that we just talked about, right? But
Mm.
remember here, we always want to frame it with, yes, I want chronologically a little bit about your life, but I really want the failures, the insights, the learning lessons, because that is the content that we're going to be able to use to talk about you as a human being and why the miracle is strong. Because I always say this, right? Even if you're buying, I don't know, something like a mundane something for your house, and I actually think AI is going to push us here even more, which
Mm.
is you're going to have more time to deeply understand the products and the things that you're getting involved with and buying. And how do you do that in the best way? You do it by getting to know who the person is, like yourself, that is building the company. And so understanding your struggles, your mindsets, and everything that you've gone through is going to be an amazing story and also fundamental for your brand. So we're going to go through that journey on chapter 2. And then chapter 3, obviously one of the main reasons we're here too, is to talk about the miracle. But again, here, it's all insight driven. Like I don't want the like biography of the miracle. Obviously, we're going to talk about what you do, but like people create
Maybe the
companies,
learnings.
yeah, they create successful
Mm,
companies because they're solving a pain point or they're
mm,
passionate
mm.
about something, right? And so we'll talk it in that frame set. That is it, man. So we're gonna go back to the childhood. Before we do that, we already have, I don't know, multiple people watching, up at over 30 people watching, and it's still going up. We're gonna get to, I need to get this podcast at least 500 people watching, if not more. The only
Let's
way
do
we
this.
can do that is like, comment, retweet. I hate doing this, but it works. And I say this every time. And even people that listen to this podcast in the future, please comment on Apple or Spotify because I listen to all your comments and I read and answer those comments as well. So, with that being said, man, chapter 1, childhood, start wherever you want. Hit me, man.
Oh man, yeah. Thinking about my childhood and where I come from, maybe it is interesting for the audience to know that I was born and raised in Switzerland. So I grew up in a very very little village, surrounded by mountains and basically not much to do than just going out, having walks, and enjoying nature. and my parents were also not Swiss. So growing up by immigrants, but also they were already after the first year moving to Switzerland. So I could also say like born and raised in Switzerland, but I was
Mm,
already the third generation.
right.
And and yeah, had a beautiful childhood, thinking of um, how we had actually very little. So when I think of like the first memories that comes to my mind is literally me being outside in the nature and being a lot outside, and whether it was like for going on walks or at a very early age then also started playing soccer, and always had this experience with my parents to be not entertained through like you see it nowadays through a tablet or a TV or
Oh,
whatever, but really
mhm.
more about doing things together without any materialistic stuff. As I mentioned, just going on a walk, sitting on a bicycle, and enjoying the beauty of nature. I think that was when I think of like the first years, very present and remained an important part after also in my childhood.
Let's unpack that. So, like, you already started. See, this is
Mm.
all I needed, man. I'm so excited. This is a beautiful insight. People need to talk about this more. So, my question, it's twofold. First, was that very intentional? But like, where your parents constantly remind you, like, "Hey, get off the devices. Like, there's so much more to life. Be outside. Be active. Be present." Was that kind of like a directive from you, or was it something you naturally just liked to doing?
I mean, it was naturally because we didn't have any devices. So um, again, like my parents came from a
Right.
normal house, and I remember when I was a child, so I would say like 4 or 5, and my parents were still very young. My mom was when I was 5, she was 28. So just to give in a perspective, and that was in the 90s, and there was not much um, electronic stuff around. So it was actually naturally because of the limited resources, I would say also from a financial side, and also the place where we lived in a village. Um, it was just happening that we spend a lot of time outside, and as I mentioned before, we went on walks. We discovered nature and went hiking, and
And it's a beautiful.
that's all what I can think of. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a beautiful thing. And I think this core principle is so important at this day and age. Now, obviously, this is reflecting back. Now it's how did that, how do you think that impacted you? Whether it be your mindset, your behaviors, like most people don't have that. And I'm a decade older than you.
Mm.
So I was even more in the thick of like, even if I had, I didn't have we didn't have tons of money growing
Mm.
up, but I wasn't like poor by any means. But I just physically, the technology didn't exist. So I had to go outside. It was one of the only things I could
I
do.
feel the same.
Um, so the question is the impacts that has had on you, whether it's mindset, whether it's behaviors. What are your thoughts there?
Oh yeah, it's a good question. So I think like on the mindset, I learned from very early on that if you want to make connections with friends or meet other kids, you have to do it in person.
Mm,
And how it shaped me literally, and that went like from 4 or 5 until I basically left my parents' house. I was spending at least a few hours every day with my childhood friends playing outside, whether it was soccer to run and catch each other and stuff like that, or in winter just being in the snow and doing also some stupid things. But yeah, it definitely shaped my mentality about how to connect with other people, and was never a very shy child, but also
right,
not the person who is like in the center of things.
right.
So at
Yeah,
life.
yeah, you're not trying
Yeah,
to be on stage all the time with the
yeah,
spotlight on
exactly,
you too.
exactly,
But
exactly.
I think the importance and so one, it's a byproduct of your
Mm,
environment. It seems like your parents had an impact. If we can switch out and you're open to talking about it a little bit,
mm.
I'm really interested in because you have mentioned your parents a couple times. Um, what is the impact there? Whether it be any type of mantras or behaviors or things that you admired about them that you still reflect and think, kind of hold near and dear um, in the way that you behave today. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think again, what my parents teach me was literally to be happy just with being around and having
Ooh,
the the freedom also just to go outside and to enjoy nature, to enjoy the place where we are. Because when I look at my mom, for example, and the way she grew up, they were like coming in that in German it's called Prager Frühling. It's like the spring
hmm.
in the it was like in the
Yes.
60s, 70s when people came from the Czech Republic to Switzerland.
Right.
And my grandfather actually was born in the middle of the Second World War. So
Yeah.
having the opportunity to grow up in a place where you know you're safe and you have basically everything you need, you have food on the table, you have a you have an apartment, and just again like being happy with the stuff that you have access to, that teach me a lot. And the other thing was really when I look at both people, like my mom, the creative one who loves to paint, who has
Yes.
been an artist all her life, and my dad who actually always um, keep pushing forward in terms of, hey, he started as a mechanic and then
Hmm.
he was
Hmm.
um, thinking like, hey, there is something I want to change in my life, went to um, teaching kids
Hmm.
in not in kindergarten, but something similar, like a similar system that we have
Right.
in Switzerland is called like Kita, to take care about the kids that come there they during the day when the parents have to work.
Right. Right. My sister
Yeah.
actually lived in Wiesbaden and
Oh, cool.
went through that whole thing, right? And I visited her
Yeah.
and loved it there. You
Mm,
said so many amazing things there too. And so here's what's interesting to me is um, if we look at your background,
mm,
right? Like you're an entrepreneur. It's tech web focused. You did banking for a while, but all I hear so far up to this is like one of the most freeing, creativity driven childhoods. And not a lot of people have this exploration, this outdoor, all of these things that you're saying, which is like always been, tons of founders on this
mm.
podcast, a characteristic to creativity. So let's go there to creativity. What are your thoughts there? Because I think people have many perceptions of creativity or how a person is creative. From a creative lens, now that we're starting to unpack and reflect this stuff, how do you think that started evolving in your mind? And what are your thoughts about creativity in general and what it means?
Well, I think creativity is something each person of us has inside
Mm,
um, of you,
yeah,
and some can show it with words, other shows it with with something they paint or produce music.
right.
Um, I think for me, I didn't have like a specific talent to be pretty
Yeah,
honest. I wasn't good in painting. I wasn't the most talented person when it came to like putting things together. Um, but I think for me, the creativity was literally to imagine things that were not here. And I don't know, it sounds maybe a little bit weird, but what I did when I was a child is when I, for example, had my first Nintendo to play.
yeah,
I was playing the Nintendo, and at the same time, I was the moderator of the game. I was like moderating how the team attacked and how the opponent
Right.
took the and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I was always very creative in creating like scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, you could almost say like a movie maker, right? Who
Yeah.
creates the scenes,
Yeah.
and that's something what I always liked to do when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and
That is
and kids do this also naturally, yeah, right? You have like some
correct.
figurines and you talk
Correct.
about it, and
They're correct. No, no.
yeah.
So this is like, boom, we're here, right?
Mm.
You just shared like a really cool, unique insight. You probably wouldn't have shared anywhere else, and like that's what we're doing here. And what's beautiful about that is like there is a lot of research out there
Mm.
has proven that like people that can create scenarios and another example out there that's out there in research is like when you're reading a book, the people that can like vividly paint that picture as they're reading the book and
Yeah.
create these environments. But I think one of the most beautiful things that you said is exactly what I want to reiterate for most people is people inherently think creativity has to have a defined output, like you said, like painting or drawing or music. But you were inherently creative in the way that your brain worked and you were thinking, right? You were visualizing things. You were manifesting these things as you were playing a game. And the way that you put it through moderated video games is a beautiful thing. So thank you for sharing it. Like that's exactly
A
the types of
pleasure.
things that we're getting. We're building the base of what this beautiful brain is that helped create the miracle. So when we take that thought and then start transitioning, so you're outdoors, your parents are really putting you in an environment that emphasizes, and whether they're doing it intentionally or not, creates this kind of creative mindset that we're
Mm.
talking about. What are you starting to like really start to track to? Is it math? Is it science? Is it sports? Like what are, as like we're starting to progress here a little bit. Reflecting back, what are you interested in, and why do you think you are interested in that?
So one thing I was definitely interested in was football,
Mm,
or in the US, I think you call it soccer.
we do call it soccer.
And
We call everything or measure everything in a different way.
yeah, yeah,
So annoying.
that's so true. No, I think football was really one of the things that I just immediately got hooked with, and has partially to do with my uncles who were heavily into football. And in the 90s, the Italian league was like one of the best leagues, or if not the best, yeah, it was the best league back then. So you have all these players who played in the 90s in Italy, from Maradona to Zidane and others. And I really remember how I was maybe like 4 years old and watching like videotapes of old World Cups. And I had a
Mm,
videotape of old World Cups, and I watched it maybe 100 times.
wow.
And and then when I wasn't watching the videotapes, I was outside, started playing. So uh, that sport taught me a lot about also how to interact with a team, and because it's a team sport, right? So
Yeah.
you learn from a very young age, and for me it was 5 years old, how to work as a team, how to communicate with each other,
Yes.
how to be able also to step up and go in when someone is having like doing a mistake, and vice versa. And that just, yeah, remain like stayed in my mind for the upcoming years. And
Yeah.
when I'm looking at the educational level, I was never good at math. Yeah, I
Mm,
hated it, to be honest.
hmm. Hmm.
And it wasn't
Which is
something like,
ironic, right? You end up
it's
applying it.
ironic because, yeah, it's ironic because I ended up in banking and in tech, and now building a tech company. But just to sit there and to work on algebra. Maybe it was, again, like I mentioned before, I like sceneries,
Mm, hmm.
and for me it was just numbers on a paper, and it wasn't much I could think of
Right.
mentally,
Yep.
because as you mentioned before, and you hit it so well, when I'm reading a book, when I'm reading a sentence, and I remember that from my childhood, when I was reading, I was literally at the same time that I was reading, imagining these worlds and these
Mm,
scenes. And with math, for me, it was very hard as a child to imagine, okay, um, what's actually happening, or how does this look? So going after also to to algebra and stuff like that, it
Yeah,
wasn't easy for me,
not fun.
but it wasn't fun for me. And at the same time, I had a situation where my trainer, my coach in football, was my teacher in math, and we
Interesting.
didn't we didn't get along very well.
Yeah.
And I think it had something to do because he thought that I am in competition with his son, who also played math.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that ruined for me like math and school in the early years massively. So
Dude,
math
you
wasn't
brought
one.
up such a really critical point, especially when you're younger
Mm.
at that age, right? Is like these negative experiences, even though you could have been, if you applied yourself, um, way better than you thought you were
Mm.
at that time. But these negative experiences going through that, it hits the brain, man. It rewires it a little bit.
Yeah,
And isn't it cool, right? Reflecting back, you start thinking about these little things as to why. So the
absolutely.
question then is, kind of getting more into high school and
Mm.
stuff. It's you're already saying some beautiful things that are makes sense as to why you're an entrepreneur and you're building a company. You're getting the basic from teamwork and understanding how organize. I mean, it really is like kind of organizations, like you said, stepping up. Um, you're figuring out what you like and what you don't like. The creativity and exploration here is, I think, is obviously a huge profound impact on why an entrepreneur, because you have to have that. Just bottom
Mm.
line, if you don't possess those things, you're going to be pretty hard pressed, because I think even when you have found product market fit and you're like, okay, I'm making some money, you're still feels like it's square one, especially as a startup, right? You're still
Oh yeah, it
exploring, you're
always is.
still pivoting and failing. And if you
Yeah.
don't have that mindset, you are cooked. When we're getting
Oh
more
yeah.
into like kind of the high school, and you're really starting to like now establish yourself as like, here's what I'm going to start pursuing. Here's who I'm starting to formulate myself as an individual, and why. What does that look like to you?
Um, so thinking of college, or going like from mid school into like in
Mhm.
Switzerland, it's actually funny because you go to school, and at the age of 15, 14, 15, you need to make a decision
Mm,
if you want to work. It's called, I think it's called apprenticeship in
yeah.
English,
Yep.
or if you want to go the way that you study something
Like
and
university, right?
university. Yeah, but before it's called gymnasium. And when you go through gymnasium, I think like for 4 years, you can then decide if you want to study, if you want to become a lawyer.
Right.
So we
Right.
have kind of like that system. And for me, I remember being like 13, 14 years old, I had no idea what I actually wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
Besides that, I started to really being interested into technology. I think
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
because my dad was in the late 90s, early 2000s, next to his job. He started to repair computers and selling computers online. So he was one of the, like in our village, he was the first one who had like an online business and selling computers, and then went to neighbors and repairing them. So I remember that. Therefore, in between like this transition from school to deciding what to do with life, I started to have these touch points with technology and with computers. And therefore I was like, hey, okay, what can you do actually, to to like to do on a daily basis that is kind of like at the intersection of tech and the other part I didn't even know. And what was interesting is that I remember that I was visiting my grandfather,
Uh-huh.
and he said, you should work for a bank because there is in Switzerland, when it comes to apprenticeship, not much better than
Right.
working at the bank and learning
Yeah.
how to manage money and this and that. And I thought, well, okay, I saw this kid's like wearing a suit, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and let's apply. And I literally applied to one bank, and it was Credit Suisse back then. And I got the job, the apprenticeship, but I didn't actually know like what's going to happen and what I just agreed on. So my first year, I remember being 16 and going every day to Gstaad, because Gstaad is like a village where all the super rich people have their chalet and their residence, and they go
Right.
there to ski. Maybe you heard of it. And they literally put me at 16 to Gstaad into the bank to work at the cash desk the first 6 months. And what I realized then is, and that's actually funny, I really didn't like the job. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But I thought like, okay, it's 3 years, 3 years of my life, and at the end of the day, you kind of like have to finish something to have some type of degree, because I didn't know what else to do back then. So
Right, right. And
um,
and so you bring up really a really interesting concept that comes up really time and
mm,
time again, especially this day and age. And it's just going to be a bigger like there's narratives out there that the
mm,
only future job is actually an entrepreneur because AI
mm.
just keeps on sucking up all of the white collar kind of
Yeah, I hear that.
one mundane jobs. But like I don't know if you saw like 3 days ago, Dario, who started Anthropic, he's like, yeah, 12 months, I think software engineers are
I read that. Yeah,
they're cooked, right? Like they're
yeah,
just not
yeah.
6 months, 6 to 12 months we're talking about,
Mm.
right? I mean, listen, I downloaded Claude Code yesterday and I'm like, now I'm an engineer a little bit and I'm just talking to the computer, like vision voice talking to a computer. It's a crazy world.
It's
But I bring this up in the sense that you're analyzing, and again,
mm,
we have prefaced your entire childhood and up
mm,
to this point of like this creative exploration
mm,
is kind of the consistent other, and then sports obviously too, but you pick the Swiss banking because it's practical. What are your thoughts and the struggles that you have here with I need to take a risk to be an entrepreneur, but then I also went down the banking route? There's always this constant struggle, but I
mm.
want your personal take on um, taking the safe route versus taking risk, and how has that impacted in your life and your concept of like for young entrepreneurs or for people that are in this struggle
Mm.
of like, do I go get a job or do I take a risk? What are your thoughts there, and what are your experiences when it comes to this subject?
It's a really good question, and I think if I could go back in time and having again the opportunity to choose, I would say like I choose the safe way, to be honest. I
Mm,
choose the way that most of the kids choose in Switzerland,
hmm.
and it's, I think, also based on because you have, to be honest, a pretty good standard of living. So if you go to work,
Right.
if you get a job, you will be able to, at least back then, it changed now also a bit with
Yeah.
inflation and stuff,
Right.
but you will be able to get your apartment and to do things with friends and follow your hobbies and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
man, even you are able to go to vacation and travel around. So I choose the safe way, and I'm not saying it was a bad decision, because again, I I finished something that I started, and it helped me a lot to also, again, being 16, and then you have to deal with rich people going to their safe, and being able to communicate with them, right? And we talk about people who are in their 50s or 60s, or again, as we mentioned in the beginning,
Hmm.
being 18 and then the financial crisis happened, and you work in private banking, and you have no idea what the fuck is going on, and you have to pick up the phone every 5 minutes, and you have a customer screaming at you and asking like,
Right,
what the fuck is
right,
going on.
right, right.
But again, I think if there is like one consistency until my 30s, it was like, okay, I decided to do something, I started it, I finished it, and then slowly my transition happened from tech, from banking to tech.
Yeah,
And that's when I realized, when I started working at Swisscom and at the same time studying, there was just something in me. And I remember when living with my childhood friend Kevin, in our 20s, sitting at home and always like thinking about, hey, what could be the next big app that we could build?
right.
And it was just like a funny brainstorming thing, because we like to do this, and we were thinking about an app that we could build to, whether it was like dating, because we said like, oh, dating sucks, and that was just at the beginning of when all those Tinder apps and things like started to pop up. Um, but yeah, I think
So
I
what's
lost it a
been
bit of the red thread,
no,
but
no, no, no.
but
It's beautiful, and this is exactly what we're doing here because you said so many really cool things, and the main thing that you said is you opted to take the safe route. And I think there's this narrative out there: if you do take that route, you're not a good person, or you're making a bad decision, right? Um, there is and then we did get to the entrepreneurship. You did say, and then I said to you go on, the story is I do want this answer is, if you were to rewind time, would you do it differently, or do you think at that moment in time you still would have taken the safe route because you were learning a skill and the right thing to do? What are your thoughts there? Like, what would you have done
yeah,
differently,
yeah,
if at
yeah.
all?
I think before I said maybe I would have done things differently, but
Uh-huh.
now that you framed the question again differently, and what I have learned tons of being in that environment as a
Yes.
teenager. I would say 16, and working for a big bank, working with international customers, having already very early on goals I had to achieve, and being in that working environment, that helped and shaped me a lot, especially because when I'm looking at my corporate career, it was always big companies. It was before Credit Suisse and then Swisscom. So obviously that had there were some good learnings into this. And again, maybe it would have been different if I was grown up in the US, or another country where the entrepreneur mindset is, I think, like more present than in Switzerland. And I think still it has shifted maybe a little bit, because now I also talk to other entrepreneurs. But thinking back, like as a teenager, again, nobody in Switzerland was like with you in a conversation at 16 and thinking of like starting your own company. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
And
Right.
then you have to make a decision. Hey, I'm going to study, or I'm going to do the apprenticeship.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you choose the apprenticeship route, you are basically in that system
Yeah.
of waking up, going to work, coming home.
Yeah, yeah, and I think so. I love that insight too because I've always said this often, not just in America. I think everywhere in the world, one of the jobs that you should have when you're younger is to be in the food industry and be like a waiter
Oh,
or
it's an
like
interesting
in
thing.
that like restaurant service because you are one, you're forced to deal with people like new people every 15 minutes because somebody's sitting down and you're serving them food. It's chaotic, right? But it really does teach you a little bit of grit because you're managing multiple systems at once, but then also doing real time like customer service in essence, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
it's just
oh
a
yeah.
wild experience. Uh, and it's not fun a majority of the time, right? But I think it just teaches you a lot about interactions and what work starts to look like. But you had it in the same way, right? And I think there's something very valuable about, and it makes sense again, um, why you decided eventually to start your company because you, unlike many people, got to start dealing with these skill sets early on. And then you did it through a crisis, right? Like you said, what are you,
Oh yeah,
18 and the 2008 crisis
18.
is
Yeah.
happening? You're dealing with these, like you said, 56 years old screaming, on the phone. This is exciting to me.
Mm.
So at this part in the life, before you're, and we can get to, we'll say now too, we almost have, give me over 100 people. We almost have 100 people watching. Like, retweet, comment. We're moving into chapter 2 here, people.
Mm.
We've already got a beautiful baseline of who you are as a human being. Now we're getting into the fun nitty-gritty stuff of like 2 to 3 things throughout this process now. You're in it. You're learning. You're getting screamed at. What are you learning? Give me some insights. Give me some lessons learned that you would, if someone were to be, you were somebody's mentor, right? What would you tell that mentee to think about at this day and age?
I would say that whatever a customer is going to tell you, and there were really nasty things, and I understand because their money was on the line, and they didn't know what's actually happening. Still, it's never personal, and I think you really have to detach yourself from how a person feels. And I know that sounds maybe a little bit difficult, but again, like if somebody is screaming at you and telling you, hey, what the fuck is going on, and what have you done with my money, and this and that, I think being exposed to situations like this, as you said before, will help you to be resilient, and it will help you to kind of like also detach yourself between actually what's happening and what's the emotion this person is going through. And this you only learn by going through crisis, and you will learn how to communicate and how to manage those situations. And doing this very early on is definitely something I would say like a super skill.
Yes, absolutely. And I love how you
Mm,
pointed it out of like um the real thing that I just heard
mm,
you say was you can't take it personally and then detach, like, and you learn this over time, like in personal relationships too,
mm,
right? Like a majority of the time, the emotion, anger, frustration, excitement, or whatever is a projection of that person's psyche or mindset.
mm.
It's very rarely about you, right? Um,
Absolutely.
and that is a superpower to understand that at an early age.
Mm,
Fast forwarding a little bit now, right? Like you're starting to build in and create your career, right? And you're either
mm.
climbing up the ladders or establishing yourself in the skill set within this banking industry.
Yeah.
One or two more things of like aha moments, like learning lessons for you that you think were impactful.
Well, I think one thing that comes to my mind is that I I was doing outbound calls, and
Oh,
it,
that
it
is
wasn't
a
it wasn't
miserable job.
it wasn't fun. It wasn't really fun. It
Mm-mm.
was actually something, you wake up in the morning, and you have to do like 50 or 60 calls. And it was in a time when online banking started to be pushed out to customers. And the Swiss person is very conservative to technology, and back then even more, to manage your funds online. And I remember just getting on the phone and start dialing and being rejected every freaking time. And you have to pick up the phone again, and you have to call again.
I
And
love it.
I think that process going through rejection is something that helps you to shape your character and again your resilience,
Yes.
and just get that mindset of like, okay, this just happened, but it's over, it's done, just put it aside, go to the next one.
Yeah.
And then also going through actually analyzing your calls. And again, I'm talking about I was 18, 19 back then, around this age. So you just have to learn to go through rejection, people saying no, and you have to become creative. You have to learn how to actually act and react based on what the customer says. And back then we didn't have video calls, right? It wasn't possible to just call someone, jump on a Google Meets. It was literally me with a phone, with a phone in my hand, and dialing day after day after day. And it was
That is
annoying.
brutal.
It was annoying. It was brutal, but I learned a lot through this, and I think that again, you had certain obstacles back then that maybe today are not anymore um, as bad as back
Yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah.
You
Eh,
basically, yeah.
but that what's so the other thing that's interesting,
Mm,
right, is we were talking about entrepreneurship and creativity, and like you took the safe route, but at the
mm,
same time, this rejection and taking risk, and just in this instance, you're doing all of that, and not only are you doing it, you're doing it 50 to 60 times a day in and day out. And so my question to you is, in this scenario, is it like your advice to people are reflecting back, is it as simple in your mind, in your case, of just forcing yourself to be in an environment like that, and then you're subconsciously learning how to deal with adversity through osmosis? Or is there like a more tactical, tangible thing that you can share as to like, do this to help evolve this skill set? You know,
mm.
like, is there more like tactical teaching moment there? Or is more the advice or lesson there is to seek out an environment like that and suck it up and go through it? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's something like a mix of both things. And from a tactical standpoint, I mean, how you get through those situations, right? You just stand up every day and you continue. But I think also something what I teach myself very early on was journaling. And I think that
Oh, I
I
love it.
remember me sitting in the office and then taking notes about what happened during the call, but also taking notes from others that were older and that were more successful in those outbound calls. And I kept doing this, and regardless of my position or where I worked, to just always have some notebooks with me, and just write down what just happened. And then in the evening, or maybe not in the evening, or the next day, or maybe a week later or 2 weeks later, I liked to go through it again and read it. And I think that helped me a lot to better understand myself. Also, just reading, like, okay, just as an example, last week I I was able to close 10 contracts for e-banking, and the other week I had zero, and then realized, okay, I remember that during this week I went out with my friends a few times too much, and I was lacking of sleep, and stuff like that. You know, things that were not super obvious, but you start to see patterns, and you start to realize, okay, there's maybe a small thing that you can adjust or do differently.
Yes, yes, and that is, that's why AI is so good, right? It is
Mm.
fantastic at recognizing patterns, and that's where I think the huge unlocks are going to go. Because what humans are can't do is like, how do you pattern recognize at top tier
Oh
levels
yeah.
across multiple verticals, right? But yet, it's such a good insight that I think um, people just. I don't think react to this comment. If you don't have anything, that's fine. But it's like, what I really heard you say is that a lot of times I hear this narrative of like, just do it. Like, there's the just doing it part, to putting yourself in the
Mm.
situation, which is it's still one of the greatest slogans to this day from Nike,
Oh,
right?
it
Is
is.
like, you actually have to do it. But the narrative usually stops there, because what you said is, um, just do it, but try to learn, try to understand, try to get better. Uh, and I feel like there's a lack of that. Like there's actually a lot of work that goes into the understanding, the journal, your version of journaling. There's many ways to get there.
Mm.
Is that what the level up for you is, and you think could be for a lot of people? Is it's more of this analytical, critical thought of whatever you're deciding to just do? Does that make sense? Do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, that makes absolutely sense. And I think, again, you have most likely one life. We don't know
Mm,
for
mhm.
100% certainty.
The
But at this
robots
point, you have
might
exactly.
change that.
Yeah. I'm actually reading a very interesting book about some entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. They built a tech that you can transport your consciousness into a robot and
Yep.
basically like canceling death. But that's another
Yeah.
topic.
Yep.
But yeah, like just do it as you said, and then, in my opinion, the most important thing happens right after. What are you doing with the output that you create and the input that you receive?
Hmm.
And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you just do it, you miss out on the learning curve and the improvement you can go through. And it doesn't matter if it is you writing articles and you realize by writing and doing it every day and analyzing it and going through it what you can change and what you can adjust. But it's also at work, and not necessarily only if you are an entrepreneur, also if you work at the bar or in a restaurant. If you just take 5 to 10 minutes every day and you reflect on your day, or the first thing in the morning, wake up when your mind is clear
Right.
and you had that first sunshine and maybe a cup of coffee, just sit down and write some notes. Write some notes about yesterday, write some notes about today. And when you go through it a few days later, or even a year later, even if you didn't do it like consciously, you will realize that your notes and your way of reflecting about things in life shaped your like shaped your path to where
Yeah.
you are today.
1,000%, man. And it was took me a major mental health crisis to get there and start thinking about that. I'm bad at it. Like I'll do go in spurts of like really journaling. But the reflexive process, which we're literally doing here today, which why
Yeah.
many people say, hey, this was an enjoyable experience because you're just diving deeper into things and you're thinking about things in a different light maybe than you don't do because we're so busy and just trying to think of the
Oh
next
yeah.
action again. That's why these beautiful conversations happen. Dude,
Yeah.
amazing insight. See what we're doing here, man? We're peeling back the layer of the onion a little bit. I'm really understanding your mindset. We're getting close to tech, right? And we're getting to Web3 and blockchain. Anything else about the banking system before we kind of dive into you really finding the base of the technology that
Mm.
excites you that ultimately now you're building a company? And anything there before we jump into kind of the tech side?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything from that time of my
Yeah.
life
Beautiful.
when I was in banking, and it was like 6 years
So tell me
before.
a
Yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
So
Go
tell
ahead.
me
No.
tell me that the moment, right?
Mm.
2016, 17, you find this wild world of crypto and Web3, and it seems like you caught a bug like a lot of people do. Talk to me about that moment and mainly in what was the curiosity for you? Because it's a
Mm.
little bit different for everybody.
So I was studying back then. I was just about to not finishing soon, but almost, like I think like 2 years before, like two from 4 years into my bachelor in economics, sitting in a library with one of my friends who I worked with at Swisscom, and he showed me CoinMarketCap. And that was during a time when we were studying for exams. And imagine CoinMarketCap having maybe I don't remember correctly, but maybe a few hundred tokens max, maybe less. And I just saw these numbers, and he was explaining to me that, hey, you can actually buy Bitcoin and you can own it, and here is all that other stuff. And I was just fascinated by how fast the price was going up and down, like the volatility, right? Because coming from banking, you have a system where, number one, you could put a buy order for equity from a certain time in the morning until the evening, and then on the weekend nothing was happening, and we were sitting there in the library on a weekend studying for our exams, and I'm just seeing like this crazy price going up and down, and I see one coin, and I remember that as it was yesterday, and it was XRP with like 0.0000, like 5 zeros. And I went back home and I told my friend who I was living with back then, like, hey, look at these tokens, and what if we buy some tokens? And that was actually the starting point to figuring out like how to create an account, how to set up a wallet. And back then, I think it was like Bitstamp, maybe the first exchange that I used. You had to wait a few days until they approved your account. So
Wild.
it was super complicated
Yeah.
to get an account, to actually get your fiat money into this account, and also the payout was difficult. I couldn't use my credit card to fund my account and stuff like that. And after I did that and I showed that to my friends, I actually went to do my exams. And the next moment, I again checked CoinMarketCap, and that was after my exams. I realized that, hey, XRP went up like I don't know how many 100%, and that's when I actually started to buy with my friend like a small portion of it, and I went to school and I told everyone about it. Like, hey, there's this platform, you can buy and sell crypto. I believe it's going to be big, but I didn't look into the technology and the reasoning, like why, for example, Bitcoin was created. It was
Right.
purely, to be honest, from a
Yeah. Just making
capitalistic
money.
mindset,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
hey, make money. I was a student. I wanted to make money,
Yeah.
and I saw an opportunity, and I thought, like, okay, if this goes up by 1000x, we're going to be rich. It was
Right.
basically as simple as
Most
that.
people do, right? Like that. Like if you're telling me that wasn't part of it, you're lying. And by the way,
Yeah, yeah,
I put my,
exactly,
I
exactly.
put my dog's bed right there for moments like that. That was beautiful. Adds to the
Yeah,
warmness. The one thing I did
yeah.
not think about though is like he decided to start cleaning himself, and I was like, that's like kind of odd when you're on a podcast. So I might move his
It's
bed.
okay.
But hey, you had this beautiful moment while you're talking about finding crypto. My dog came in and just started
Mm,
chilling. So obviously capitalistic.
mm.
When did it kind of like change for you of like, okay, I get this. This is an interesting technology. Um, and what excited you about past making money, right?
It was actually when I still was working at that Swiss tech company,
Mm-hmm.
and I transitioned internally into funny like banking software.
Yeah.
So again, like this intersection of like banking and tech.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, like in like one when the market crashed in 2017
Right.
in January. I remember that like my XRP and the other tokens was just like boom, gone.
Yeah.
And
Eviscerated.
everyone was pissed at me at school, of course.
Of course. Of course.
Because I was the one person who brought them in, and I think some people still hold some coins from back then, which after all is a net positive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I started to read more. I think I wasn't on Twitter, but I definitely was reading on forums and Reddit.
Uh-huh.
So I started to look more into Bitcoin and what was the creation story and the white paper and so on. And at the same time, we started to explore at my company how to work together with the first crypto bank. So
Mm,
as we were running applications for banks and basically make sure that their internal tools from online banking to trading and so on work properly, and also planning releases, executing releases, and testing. I saw that bank transitioning into crypto or building basically a crypto only bank, and I wanted to be part of it. And I said, okay, in Switzerland we had already the crypto hub in Zug, where also some of the foundations like the Ethereum Foundation and so on was founded.
right.
And I realized that in Zug, very close from Zug, is a university that where you can actually
Real
do.
quick, sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
thought I can hear the tapping of the pen.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
That's all good. That's good. Use your hands as you want. But go for it.
So yeah, so there was or there is still a university. They were the first one in Switzerland that offered a study in advanced tech in blockchain. And I went to my manager and I said like, hey, I'm super interested into crypto. I believe it's going to be big. I believe that banks will adapt and they will offer trading for crypto. And I want to do this. I want to do the certificate. And I had a good manager back then who really pushed me and really again like also helped me to find the things I'm passionate in, and also to then do something within that field. So that was when I actually went from okay, pure trading to hey, how can we use that tech to
Yeah.
build products, to
Yeah.
implement it into banking systems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was that was like around 2021. At the same time when the NFT bull run started. And what was super interesting, because after when I went to school, we of course went through Bitcoin and all the tech stuff, but we also started to look into NFTs and use cases. And that was when I met actually one of my co-founders.
Fantastic. And I think this could be a good segue into chapter 3. And so cracked our 100 viewers. Now we need more. We're about to get into, you all missed a beautiful story of just Danilo's amazing career and life and insights. And we've talked about creativity and team sports and exploration and vividly picturing and manifesting as you're reading or playing video games and all of these skill sets. I love the whole conversation about the tactical part, but the just do it and the journaling, like those beautiful insights. And so we have a really good base of who you are as a human being now. And that's actually my favorite part of the podcast is understanding that. And you did a really good job. We're going to start transitioning into the miracle and the entrepreneurship. Please, everybody, like, retweet, do all of the things, because you need to hear this man's beautiful mind. The first part that I think makes the most sense in chapter 3 is I get why entrepreneurship was exciting to you because of your mindset in your life, but that's still a big leap. You have now like done a career. You've been in big corporate banks. It is still a little bit of the safe path. You've done the schooling as well too. You've now met your co-founder, but you still have to make the jump. It's a terrifying thing. What was it, man? What was it? What was the moment for you that you're like, I cannot not do this?
Wow. I think it was a mix of a lot of different things and influences, and And one was basically I started to realize when I went into different organizations within the company that I liked to take ownership and I liked to build teams. And it was mostly like
Ooh.
with younger people to work on a certain project or to try a new product out or a new process. And that happened actually from 20, I would say, like from early 20 on until I left the corporate world. So again, by reflecting like what I like to do and what I'm passionate about is actually working with people and trying to build a dynamic and a culture that that just has fun in doing something, right, and doing something new. And the other thing was one of the guys that didn't end up co-founding, he connected me with Daniel, one of my co-founder I met at this university. And he was an entrepreneur for a very long time. And I remember that during lectures, he told me like, "Hey, Danilo, I can see that you have great ideas. You are super creative. What's stopping you to build a company? Because I know someone, and it was Daniel, who has been also an entrepreneur for a very long time. Because the fun fact here is he is 54, and back
Yeah.
then he was like early 50s, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that guy's still hungry to take some risks, right?
Right. Right.
And those conversations definitely shaped me. And on top of that, biggest influence, definitely my wife, who told me like, hey, do it, just do it. We will handle it. We will not starve. I will continue going to work, and even if we have just one salary, we will survive. But I believe that you found something that, because I talk nonstop about crypto at home until she couldn't hear it anymore. um, but she really gave me that last push to just say like, fuck it. I went to my manager,
It's
and I and I
beautiful,
told
man.
and I told him, hey, I wanna start my own company. And we didn't know back then exactly what we are going to build. And I think that's the lesson for a lot of the people out there.
Of course.
You just have to do it. Again, like I didn't know like what exactly the miracle is going to be, but I met the right people. And then through Daniel, I met my other co-founders, Shil and Karim, um, to to make a risky decision. And it was scary, but it felt so freaking good. It felt like and again, I had no idea where this is going. I
Right.
had literally
Right.
no idea, but I knew it felt like, okay, now something new is going to happen. You don't know exactly what is going to happen, but it's going to be exciting. And maybe it felt so intense for me because again, I come from corporate, and I
Right. Right.
I didn't know something else than just waking up, going to work. I had my little experiments and projects and this and that, as I mentioned,
Hmm.
but this felt new, and I felt the energy and the again, like the creativity that I could now
Right.
really unlock.
Yeah. It's beautiful,
Uh,
man. Right.
and that was after in actually like in because I had like a certain amount of months I still had to work. So in 2021 until early 2022, that transition phase happened. So I still worked for 4 months, but in my free time, every damn second I had, I was with my co-founders thinking of, hey, okay, we are all passionate about NFTs. We all started to engage in certain communities, and there is more what you can do with NFTs, and kind of like this brought us all together. And it was a it was an experience of like people joined in that phase where we still were like in brainstorming and figuring out what kind of problem we can solve also for ourselves, what we didn't like, for example, about the space back then. And we didn't even know if we were going to make money or something like that. So it wasn't actually like money driven, like, hey, okay, let's find an idea that will make us 100 million in, like you could have started as you said before, like just launch a token
Right.
or whatever. um, but literally just sessions, having fun, coming up with ideas, and spending the first 1.5 years in finding the right people to then found the company in 2023, in May 2023.
Beautiful, man. So many like we could take that so many directions. That couple minutes, there were so many insights packed in here. I think I want to go with this leap, right?
Mm.
Of course, it's multiple different things that come to head to make you have that day where you're like, you know what, I'm out. I'm gonna be an entrepreneur and I'm doing this. You talked about the wife. You talked about some people meeting co-founders. You have to pick one. You can't pick multiple. What do you think the most impactful thing was to allow you to start that transition?
I think it was my wife, honestly. Like
Hmm.
she was really the backbone
Yeah,
of also the last years. Like
yeah, yeah,
as you might know, you start a company and then you have failure after failure after failure, and you
yeah.
don't actually know how you're going to survive.
Right.
But having just the moment of, like, I remember that, like, hey, I didn't even have to explain to her what we actually want to build or how we were going to make it. She was with me sometimes when I still was working, and in that transition phase she was with me in the office at night when everyone else left, at the whiteboard, and just writing down thoughts and ideas and stuff like that.
Dude, that is
And
so huge to
yeah.
have somebody by your side like that as your cheerleader because there's so
Oh
many
yeah.
different scenarios where that
Mm,
doesn't exist. And I think that I just want to call out the gravity of like how amazing that is.
mm,
And that you have that and you're very, very fortunate,
mm.
man.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm very lucky. And again, I think it was a combination, but I think if you don't, if you are already at the stage as I was, like, you're married, obviously, like, we didn't have kids and we still don't have, but so you can take certain risks, right? But I don't know if I would have made the same decision being alone, because again, she was able to support me, and she was literally for many years the person who brought in some income, because we bootstrapped it in the beginning. We put
yeah,
our own money into the company,
right.
and that's a scary move, right? It's
Super
scary.
scary
and
move, man. Super
and
scary
having
move.
someone at home who fully supports you, who feels even confident putting all our savings into this is, now when I think about it, it's crazy. It is literally crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it is the risk is part of it.
Mm,
Before we get to, like I'll do kinda, like, ask you what the elevator pitch at the miracle is, and we'll get
mm,
into the tech. I think there's another and by the way, we're already hour 15 minutes in, like, it seems like 15 minutes, like, you've just dropped a bomb after bomb of beautiful insights. Uh, this transition phase, right? You said you
mm,
took a long time to one, find the right people. You're tossing around ideas. You didn't even know what you really were doing in the beginning. Like that's even more impressive to me about your
mm.
wife. You're like, I don't quite know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. And
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's make this happen. Like that's incredible. There's not many people that would say that. And so what are the like the big insight, one or two insights from this time period of now you've made the leap and you're trying to figure out what are your thoughts there?
I think
Or like
one.
this is you made the
Yeah.
jump, miracle has like the solidified idea where we are today
Mm,
has not been
mm,
solved. I'm interested in an insight there.
mm. Yeah, I think again, it's the most important thing is figuring out who is the right fit for your team if you are not building this by yourself and you are a solo founder. As in my case, I wasn't the programmer. I wasn't the one who is capable of, maybe nowadays with AI, but back then I had no idea. Like I had some ideas in my mind how this could look and in which direction this could go,
Right.
but we were missing of a technical co-founder, and we had people coming in and out, and we spent time with them together, but we didn't rush it. And I think that's so important. You cannot force
Hmm.
a team to be built, right? It just
Right.
happened organically. And people come and people go, especially in the early days. And you really have to be aligned on a lot of things, and you have to make a lot of sacrifices. You will spend more time with your co-founders and with the people you built the company in the, especially in the early days, than with your wife or with your kids or with your family in general or friends.
Hmm.
So don't rush it. And I think that was crucial in our case. We really took our time to figure out who is the right fit,
Mm.
and we were also not afraid of saying like, no, this doesn't work out. We cannot build a miracle together. And
Right.
that happened like 3 times. I remember that
Wow.
we were sitting there and we had to say no, because we realized, okay, it's we don't think the same way, or we don't have the same vision,
Yep.
and we don't want to take the same risks or whatever it is, even if they
Yep.
were really skilled.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm happy we did that. But it
Oh yeah.
always pushed us a few steps back in that
Yep.
moment.
Yep.
But I cannot stress enough that really taking the time on hiring or team building is so crucial. It's
Yeah.
really the most important thing. And also after, when you have a product, when you get new people in, hiring becomes your top priority, actually, because it shapes your DNA of the company. It shapes how the product is being built later on, how they are also hiring, and the people they bring in. I mean, there is this famous quote, right, from Steve Jobs too, like A players will also recruit A players, and so on. Um, so I think it's just super important to have that mindset from the very early days, actually from day zero, to yeah, to just be very selective,
Yes.
and to say no, and to separate also. And I think a lot of people struggle with this. When you feel already inside of your stomach that something is not going well and this is not going to work out, just just uh separate from
Yeah,
each other.
man.
And it sounds a bit transactional or cruel, but your time is so limited,
Oh, so limited.
and you're taking such a big risk with
Yeah.
building and founding a company, that you
Right.
cannot waste a day with building it with someone who is not aligned.
Yeah. That, I mean, so listen, I know that you've put a lot of time into this and you're building a high quality team because you found my man, friend for life, Bubble, how we're talking, right? And
Amazing guy.
that dude is just not only a quality human being, but one of the most amazing minds I've sat myself around. And,
Oh yeah,
um, you
and
know,
such a
you're
good person.
yeah, yes. And that's what it's always boiled back to
Mm,
me, right? Is like, yes, there are a lot of brilliant minds out there,
mm,
but you also just got to be a good person because at the
mm,
end of the day, what are we doing, man? Like, if you don't know how to be kind and treat people correctly, like, I just don't,
mm.
like you said, my time's limited. Like, why would I want to spend some time with somebody that is not doing that? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. But but my point is, you're obviously finding very high quality people. And so, um, my question then is, transitioning to the miracle, how did you think, or because this is a long period vetting these people as well too. When did you know, like, was it an MVP process or was it the novel idea of wallet level brand campaigns that are like, dude, nobody's doing this and this is an
Mm.
opportunity? What kind of started clicking for you when you're like, okay, you've kind of set the team up, you're really starting to be pretty focused now? What was that kind of
Mm.
click moment and aha for you of like, You just launched a massive partnership with like these huge brands, right? Like
Mm.
you have to have something to get there. What was that kind of aha moment and click there? And then we'll go deep into what the
Oh yeah.
miracle.
So actually, the funny story about this is that I remember we were sitting at Kareem's studio back then, and we realized that we all had the same problem in crypto, that we were missing out on airdrops and other like claims and benefits. As you remember, like the crazy time of 2021, 2022, everyone was like in 1000 Discord servers and things were crazy on Twitter. And we realized that, hey, okay, at the level, the token or the NFT is kind of like your connection to a community, is your digital identity at some level, but it's also your access to status and to benefits and to rewards. And the funny story about this is that we knew that this is the important thing that has been missing in the space, to be able to easily track everything that you are eligible for from a certain
Yes.
project. But we made a crucial mistake in the beginning. We
Oh,
thought we thought that the decision-making process when buying an NFT, for example, is influenced by the benefits and the rewards that you have. So the first product we shipped, and the funny thing, we didn't even release it to the public, and I will tell you why. We shipped a marketplace, an NFT marketplace, and a lot of people don't know that. And that was 2023, with all the benefits and the rewards attached to the NFT. So you could go on an NFT and you would see
uh,
like, okay, if I buy this NFT, I get access to ABC. And when and not only that, we also had kind of like the most important news of the project also next to it. It was like a 360-degree view of a token, its community, and its benefits. So there we are sitting. We have been building that also quite fast, I would say. Like in 3 months, we had the MVP, but we made the mistake of not getting users in fast to test it. And I'm not talking about 100 users, but start with one user and gather feedback.
right, right.
So we came together, we worked on that platform, we realized, oh no, this is missing, or we should have news there. And then I remember that day I was sitting at my laptop and I was going through the page and I realized, this is shit, this is bullshit. Nobody's going to use this. You have open, when you want to buy your NFT, you have OpenSea, right? But
You're not solving a
when
pain point, right? You're
yeah,
you're
yeah,
you're
you're not like, we had the pain
adding a
point.
shiny tool, but like, is that really a
Yes, yes,
motivator, right?
yeah, exactly. And we had actually the the pain point that we were solving was part of it, but we thought like, if we add certain things, this is how we're going to make money, basically.
Right, right.
So
Because like, dude, 2021, I had
mm,
this thought,
mm,
exactly was your thought. I was like, dude, I'm in so many discords, and
mm,
I still do this thing. I know, dude, tens of thousands of dollars, if not more,
yeah,
and access to things and all of these insane perks. I know I've missed out on, right? And that is a pain point for me for sure. But then, how does that manifest, right?
mm, absolutely. So I remember that coming back, and people were excited, like internally people were kind of like excited about it, to have like this marketplace that they were always wishing they had. And then I came back and I said, guys, we have to pivot. Let's focus on, you connect your wallet, and then you see actually the benefits and the rewards that are attached to it. And we really focus on this, and we remove the news, and we remove the marketplace, and it's just a tracking tool, basically. And then me going to projects and pitching this to the projects, because we are solving a pain point for their community. So that happened in early 2024. And again, I remember as it was yesterday, like we learned from the mistake of not getting user feedback in fast. And then really talking to different projects, to different people. Actually, during that time, also people who are now working for the Miracle, they explored the Miracle back then, and they said, like more from our team, like, hey, you are solving a major pain point because I'm missing out on six figures on airdrops and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure.
So that then the problem solving hat was on, and then again talking to people, talking to projects, ship, and test and fail, like not being afraid to fail, was like really the way we started building the Miracle from that day on. And then I realized when I talked to the projects and also at events to certain people from wallets, that this data that we are creating and putting together is actually missing on the wallets or on the project's websites. I remember talking to Berko and showing him, I don't know if you know Berko from Pudgy Penguins, amazing person. And I was in Lisbon at NFC Lisbon, and I showed him our page where you see like all the Pudgy Penguin benefits. And he asked me like, hey, can we actually brand this as Pudgy Penguins and show this on our website? I was like, okay, that sounds super interesting. I haven't thought about it. And then I had other conversations, for example, with Sebastian from the Sandbox, who has been also kind of like a mentor in the early days of the Miracle. So I had a lot of calls with him, and he provided feedback.
Right.
And he again said like, hey, I'm not going to send the Sandbox users to your platform. Why I should send like traffic on the Miracle when you have there right now maybe 100 or 200 users who are checking their benefits.
Right.
And through those conversations, I started to realize, hey, we have to pivot again. And we have to go
But you're
B2B.
on to something.
We have to go B2B. And again, I was standing in front of the team and I'm telling them like this beautiful product we have built. And it really was a great product, but we have to go in a different direction. And then we shipped during summer 24 the first iteration, the first version of the API, and started talking to the first wallets, again being rejected. It's part of the process until Karim was in Lisbon at ApeFest and got in touch with the founders of WalletGuard. WalletGuard later on was acquired by Consensus MetaMask.
I actually had them on the podcast.
Good guys, yeah. Did
Yeah.
you talk to Michael?
Yeah.
Michael, yeah, Michael is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
shout out to Michael. He truly, was instrumental also in providing feedback on our B2B journey.
Right.
So me, Karim, Michael were on a meeting, and that was autumn 2024, and we pitched him the Miracle. And the first thing, like he says, like after 1 minute, he said like, or 30 seconds even, wait. I give you my wallet, or show me how I can connect, or I give you my wallet, and just to show it to me. What does your product do? And then he gave me his wallet. I shared my screen, and we had a wallet like a wallet checker, and I added his wallet, and then it showed like I don't know how many benefits that he has, and like 100, 200 that he missed. And he was in front of the computer, and he said like, "Fuck, man, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like that has to be in the wallet, because the wallet is the place like where I have my tokens, my NFTs, where I connect to the project's websites and dApps. But what you can actually do with your wallet and what access do you have, it's missing.
Yeah.
And that brought us into MetaMask portfolio in a first step. And now, as you just saw, we went live in Soulflare wallet this week
Dude, what a
and shaped
beautiful,
the way. Yeah.
yeah, what a beautiful account of that journey. I think you're one of the top people that had actually like took the time to go
Mm.
through the evolution of the product and the journey. So I really appreciate that. I think um obviously we'll do a concise what you're
Mm.
doing. If you're good, do you have another 10 minutes? Can we go for
Oh,
another
yeah.
10 minutes? Oh,
I quickly have to plug in my laptop because otherwise I'm running out of battery. So give me
go
30
for it.
seconds.
No problem. Yeah. Unbelievable, unbelievable, beautiful story. I really did enjoy just the recount of the process of the miracle,
And I'm
man.
back.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah, I think it's just important to mention to other people who are building products and they think like, hey, my first version that I'm going to launch has to be perfect.
Yeah, it never does.
It never does. And still at this point, I just before we hopped on the podcast, we already had a meeting like, okay, what has to be improved, and
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
constant process of improvements
yep,
and failing, and I think that's so important. Otherwise, you will try to reach that kind of like perfection and being afraid of customers using your product and so on.
right. And the
Yeah,
end goal and the mind that like it will never like it's a constant
exactly.
it'll that will never end,
And
right?
that's the fun. That's the fun thing of
Yeah,
building a product and a company and actually a team.
yeah,
It's constant movements and
right.
it's a roller coaster and
Mhm.
there are good days, there are bad days, but at the end of the day, I love it. I really love it. I love to wake up in the morning and I know that today some shit is going to happen,
Right.
and it's actually for me this is life. And then I think coming back to the beginning of going the safe route and then taking risks.
Love it. We're coming full circle.
Yeah, I'm in my 30s, and I want to tell people out there, if you're in your 30s and you have thought about something that you want to try, you want to build a product, or now even with all these tools that we have nowadays with AI, can be also as simple as just writing a book or producing a song.
Yeah,
Just do it. Just do it,
do it,
and
baby.
you will see that you will get eventually there. And even if you don't get there where you first thought, it's going to be the experience of your lifetime. And I think
Yeah.
you're never too old to try something and take some risks.
Never. Yeah, actually, a misconception is and I'm sure it'll come down with the
Mm.
AI. But the last time I looked at it, the average age of like an entrepreneur is
Mm.
actually in their 50s, right?
Oh,
Because
wow.
most people
Yeah.
do what you think, and they have the capital to take
Mm.
the risk. They've
Mm.
learned. Everyone thinks it's like Mark Zuckerberg, right? Like that's not
Yeah,
not the norm.
it's not the norm. And I want to tell you who is listening, like I'm maybe the 95%.
Right.
And it just shows that again, you have to take at certain time points in your life some risks, and it's mostly based on your gut feeling. And even if it doesn't work out, so what? You did it, you tried, you learned some things,
Yeah.
and it will definitely shape the person and the version of you of the person you are.
Beautiful.
And yeah, can't stress that enough. Yeah.
Now you fully understand why we do what we do because we are coming full back circle.
Mm.
This is completely reflective process at this point. So I know we've been going for a while. I want to be cognizant of time. I just want to take the last. So what we'll do is I'll ask you for kind of like a quick. Now we have the summary of the journey, but like if you were to distill what you're doing, what are you doing? What is currently going on? What do the next 3 to 6 months look like? I ask one question of every person that comes on. I'll give you my closing comments and we'll call it a day. So
Sounds good.
starting with the next process is like, if you were to give me the elevator pitch, minute or less, as concise as you possibly can be, what is the miracle?
So the miracle is the relevance layer inside wallets. So it shows you as a user what you can actually do with your wallet, the tokens and the benefits and the rewards that you are eligible for. And from a brand perspective, we are helping brands actually to run very personalized and tailored activations inside the wallet to reach the right people at the right time in the right place.
Yeah,
So that's why we call it the relevance layer, because on one side, it brings relevance to the brand, to the user, but also to the wallet.
yeah,
Because the wallet, by installing the miracle, becomes the place to be to daily check what you can do, to connect with the brands that you love, and also to really increase the engagement and the loyalty. So that's what we do with the Miracle. That's what we just launched inside Soulflare Wallet. So you can grab your Soulflare wallet, you can go to the Explore page, and then you will see benefits that are tailored for you. So it is based on your on-chain history. It is based on the tokens you hold and the communities you are part with. And what's going to happen over the next month is that we will be integrated into more wallets and becoming a key part of that infrastructure, and then pushing that also more towards retail. So the wallet should really something be where you get the best deals, the best offers that matters to you. And I think that's super, super important. No noise, no ads, just things that matters to you in your wallet where you take decisions.
yeah, and it makes total sense, right? Because everyone's like, "Oh, your identity is your PFP
Mm.
or your avatar," but it actually is like what drives a lot of your digital identity is your purchase behaviors and the
Yes.
actions you're taking, and that lives at the wallet level. That
Yeah.
totally makes sense. What's interesting to me is the one question I have is like, why have the wallets not done this? Is it just too much work, or it was just they have way other more things to think about? Like, why? Because you would think of the wallets would have had this idea and built it out themselves. Like, what's the thought there?
Mhm. I mean, I can give you an example from a Web2 company called Cardlytics, and they actually went to banks back in 2009, 2010 to leverage the data of the banks and then to show personalized offers to the bank users. And the thing with advertising, and it's a form of advertising, I would say, is that as a bank, okay, you can do this by yourself, but you will struggle at the reach level. So if you want to convince the companies to run activations in your platform, if you have a few million users, for example, and back then that was a huge problem because online banking just came up, versus the ads that you can run on Google, for example. It's just like it's not going to happen that companies will opt in to this funnel,
Correct.
and banks knew, okay, it's like, one, it's a lot of work, b, it's a lot of relationship management with the brands. They have to be experts on a data level, security matters, and so on and so on and so on.
Yep.
And on top of that, the reach, like one bank alone will not be successful. You need to have this network.
Yes. And that's what you that is actually the key of what you said.
Mm.
I've been brand and marketing my whole life. Um, in essence, you're a wallet aggregator of reach, data, information, perks, rewards, all of these different things. And the aggregation business is massive, right?
Oh yeah.
That's actually where um, I have not been in brand or advertising and not ever has a substantial part of the direct marketing, right? The low funnel marketing has not had a good substantial percentage sent to some type of form of aggregation services, right? And now you're doing it at the wallet level, but that's also what's interesting is most aggregators are their hubs for people looking for a specific thing.
Mm.
You've built a hub around a person's being, and
Oh
that
yeah.
opens up way more opportunity for creativity, for integrations, for all of the different things that you can do. Um, it's beautiful, man. I mean, it sucks. We're gonna have to have many more talks,
Oh
podcasts.
yeah.
I mean, we have just. I have so many questions, but I need to be cognizant of time. I know you are tired. I
I
actually
still
have
have.
other things. Go ahead.
No, if you want, I still have like 5-10 minutes. That's totally fine.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start
yeah.
winding it down. So, um, I would say quickly. So you just
Mm.
launched Soulflare this week, correct?
Yes.
So go down your load your Soulflare wallet. You're gonna want to see what this beautiful man has built. What else is happening currently in the next 3 to 6 months? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, in the next 3 to 6 months, you will see more wallets actually showing on a wallet level, like on mobile, what kinds of benefits and rewards you have as a user. So you will see a lot of brand activations and and yeah, just making sure that the wallet UX is top notch, and I think that's something like we really have focused on over the last 1.5 years as we were building the model of aggregating and organizing the data. We can really make sure that when we integrate with a wallet, the users on the wallet, that they see things that matters to them and things that they are eligible for. So we want to bring this experience to the wallets, and there will a second wallet announce our integration in February. So that's like a huge thing that is happening very very soon. And then yeah, basically like this journey, how it has been so far, pushing things, analyzing the results, making mistakes, iterates the product, and so on. I think it's an ongoing journey,
Yeah.
but you will definitely see why we call ourselves the relevance layer inside the wallet, and you
Hmm.
will see a lot of big brand partnerships and really really cool stuff that we unlock for the wallet users.
Yeah. I do love the terminology relevance layer.
Mm.
Uh, it's got a nice ring to it. I think. Okay, so big things happening, more partnerships dropping. This has been a beautiful conversation. Closing down, man, I always ask one last question. Um, if someone were to ask you what it was like to come through the Mikey G podcast experience, what would you say?
We became friends, as you said in the beginning, and I think that's the most beautiful thing. So I can definitely encourage every founder to jump on the Mikey podcast experience. And again, I think like something we touched on is like reflection. So that was like the first time I actually reflected on my life, not like in a written format,
You're
but
right.
actually like in a live conversation. And I think it's beautiful.
Thank you so
And
much, man.
and therefore props to you. I think it's something that I can highly recommend to all the great people out there. Thanks a lot for
Wow,
having me and giving me the opportunity to talk about my journey.
dude. Thank you so much. You gave me chills. I'm still batting 100, man. I'm close to 250 founders, and I've had forms of similar feedback. And I think, one of the main parts is like, I don't, when we started this whole conversation, I just deeply care about you as a human being. I deeply care about humans. And I think we just got a glimpse. And think about this. Think about all of the cool things that we talked about. And if you were really to say, like, how deep did we get into your life? Like, it's just such a minimal fraction, but it was
Oh yeah.
still insanely entertaining. And I know you did. You impacted a live today. There's no way that somebody didn't hear this and now we most likely, I'm almost positive there was somebody on the edge that is going to listen to this conversation and say, let's freaking do this. Not necessarily quitting their job and starting a company, but taking the risk to start something new. That's the biggest
Exactly.
risk of all, right? Just building something new is
Mm.
huge. Um, and if I reflect back on the conversation, like I said before, thank you, Bubble and Kareem and Mo. Mo's actually been on this podcast as well too.
He
He's
told me. He told me.
that
Yeah.
beautiful
Um,
human being, and
Beautiful. Yeah.
he thank you for one getting them to get you on, but two, I really do mean this. Like, you have an aura about you, and when I first met you, within a couple sentences, I was like, this is just a genuinely good dude, and you
Appreciate it.
portrayed that through the conversation. Some of my favorite parts, just how we started about the exploration, the creativity, you vividly being able to place stories in your mind. But then what usually happens in life, right, is we're starting down this narrative, and I'm like, oh man, this dude's going straight into entrepreneurship right away. But you take the safe route, and then you take the safe route, and you go through like what couldn't be more of a stodgy environment, traditional banking, right? Like
Yeah.
Swiss
Exactly.
banking, like that's kind of boring. But it wasn't boring because we talked about hard work, adversity. That's when the journaling stuff came up. That was like probably one of my favorite insights is,
Mhm.
and at that time, your story, um, was a typical story that we've heard here, but then you really opened up and started giving those insights, and it made the conversation go to such a different level. And then honestly, actually, my favorite part is I loved you just going through how you got to where you're currently now from the entrepreneurship perspective. And then it all came full circle, like you said. And I realized, like, it totally makes sense to me. You being the genuine human I can tell you are, that teams and people and that whole exploratory phase once you quit your job was the thing that really excited you and got you passionate and why you still wake up in the morning. Uh, and you did that, and you just gave me almost 2 hours of your time on a week where you launched with a major brand. You've had barely any sleep, and that is not lost on me. You gave me the most valuable thing
Mhm.
that you have is time. But I think the
Appreciate it.
world's a better place because of that. And so thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you, man.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are a really, really good person and just a good human being to have a conversation. And I hope we will meet one day in real life.
Oh, we're hugging it out in real life. You don't even need to worry about that. We're not meeting. It's going to be like
Okay.
a solid embrace hug. I'm not a shaker. I always say that. I
Mm.
when I meet the people like in real life, I was like, I don't shake hands. Brothers got a
Mhm.
hug. It's a little line from Tommy Boy, which was a fantastic
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And so, with that being said, people, we have gone through a wild ride of Danilo's life and journey and the beautiful things that he's building with the miracle. We love you all. Mikey G and Danilo.